If I was asked to provide a few words to describe parenthood, I'd first ask if I was allowed to make up swear words. Then, assuming I was told no, I'd start rattling off my choice of many adjectives. Difficult, rewarding, funny, exhausting. And then, somewhere on that list, in my top 10, but definitely near the bottom of it, would be the word fun. In all honesty, I don't find parenting fun. I love my children, I think they're hilarious and entertaining, and I have had many fun moments. But constantly being tired, not being allowed sick days, and constantly being pushed to the limit of literally everything I thought I knew time and time again, isn't my idea of fun. Dancing is fun. Reading is fun. Constantly bouncing between proud and excited and worried, sick, and on the verge of a mental breakdown is not fun. But my guest today would beg to differ, and she's here to prove that parenthood certainly can be fun. I'm Ariana Bradford, and this is the NIAM Project Podcast. As I've mentioned, I'm Ariana, and this is the NIAM Project Podcast, and you're listening to Season 2, Episode 11, Parenting. Let's make a game of it. So before I get into the meat of the show, I just wanted to address a couple things. For one, I've realized that my life is a little topsy-turvy right now, as it is for pretty much everyone, so for the time being, I'll be taking 1 week a month off. This has kind of been happening by accident for a while, but I'm making it official now. It's nice to have the break, and it gives me more time to think of great content, so it's kind of a win-win for everyone. Secondly, in reference to said topsy-turviness, I had to record this episode in my bedroom using my phone and a set of earphones because my husband was having a meeting in our shared office space at the exact same time. So, due to this, the show might sound a little different this time around, and now you know why. The circus that is my life right now, I tell you what. Anyway, let's get to this week's episode. I'm lucky enough to welcome Karen, author of the book Parenting, Let's Make a Game of It, and she's got some very interesting insight to share with us.
I'm Karen Thurm Safran. I am a mom with 2 grown kids who are now in their mid-20s. So it goes by really, really fast. So enjoy every minute, definitely. And besides wearing my mom hat, I also work in K-12 education technology, making learning immersive and fun for kids. So after I launched my kids through college and getting jobs and also this company, I decided to fulfill a childhood dream of writing a book. And they always say to write about what you love. And I thought about it and I said, oh, I know. The subject that's near and dear most to my heart is parenting playfully. So fast forward 1.5 years, I gave birth to my 3rd child, my book. And it's called Parenting, Let's Make a Game of It. So anyone who knows me knows that I love my kids more than anything. But I know that parenting can be really, really frustrating with, all the everyday power struggles, and especially these days with what's going on with the pandemic and being cooped up 24/7. So when my kids didn't listen or cooperate, and I make a game of it, and it's something how my parents raised me, and so I found this very helpful to do, especially since I was a single parent, and I was also a very stressed out single parent. So I needed lots of tricks up my sleeves. So what I basically did was I created a game to turn around something that was unpleasant, like one of the many power struggles we go through every day. So like, the kids don't want to go to bed on time, or they're taking forever in the morning and they're dilly-dallying, or, they're not cleaning up, or whatever it is. I would basically come up with a playful way to do the activity and make a game of it. And what happened was I turned this really stressful situation into something fun where my kids willingly would cooperate. Parenting became easier and it was more fun. My kids were empowered and we all spent more time connecting as a family. So I decided to write this book about it because I realized this was not really a typical way of parenting. And I wanted to share this technique with others just so that they can enjoy parenting as much as I did, because it does go so fast. It seems so counterintuitive, right? Because you're like, your kids aren't listening and you're like ready, you're screaming at them. Are you ready to scream at them? Like, will you listen? And I remember washing dishes with my kids at the kitchen table acting up and tears just streaming down my face. And because I got divorced when my kids were about 4 and 6. So they were pretty young, 4 and 6, 5, 7, somewhere around there. They were pretty young. And so how I did it was I would just, luckily I was brought up this way. So I had this as my parents were a role model for me. But I would take a deep breath, like with anything. You just take a deep breath, and you just get yourself kind of calm. You probably have to take a second deep breath because your kids are really irritating you, right? And then you just kind of flip the switch and you get a can-do spirit, like, yes, I can do this. And when you're optimistic, all of a sudden, you're more creative and you can think creatively. And so then the next step is you just think, what the hell am I trying to do here? And it may be that you're trying to get your kids to stop yelling or stop crying or stop melting down, but it's like, what was your goal originally before all this happened, this drama? And it's like, oh yeah, I want my kids to clean up the mess. I want them to help me clean up. So you figure out your goal, and then that's where the fun comes. You creatively problem solve, like, okay, so kids like to play. So how can I make this playful and fun? And it's like, what can I do to make them want to cooperate? Because, nobody really wants to clean up. And so that's where you just think about like what your kids like to do. And so kids like music. So you can energize to music, right? And you can say, hey, let's play a game. We're going to play a racing game and see if we can clean up by the end of this song. What song should we play? And then, you put on some song that they love and you race around. Or if they have lots of energy, you can be like, hey, let's clean up and let's be like our favorite character or our favorite superhero. Let's bounce around like Tigger and clean up. Okay, so now let's fly around like Superman, or let's sing or whatever. So it's really just figuring out what your kids like to do and then just coming up with something. And so once you have that formula, you can kind of apply it to anything that you want done.
So I'm going to be honest. When I first heard this, I figured this is way too good to be true. I am not the kind of mom who wants to play when things need to get done. I just want to get them done. And Karen's book is a fun, fast read filled with very creative ways to get kids to play their way to listening well. But it still sounds hard. So I asked her if these things were very difficult for her, and I found very quickly that they certainly were. She just found a very quick way through it that worked surprisingly well.
Yeah, so there were struggles. And even though I did this, throughout when my kids were young, parenting is challenging. So you always have to work at it. And I mean, if you ask for one greatest parenting struggle, I would just go, really? One? There's so many, especially since I had the curveball, that we decided to get divorced. And one thing that my ex-husband and I decided is that it was really important for some continuity with our kids. So I worked it out that I worked part-time, and part-time is in quotes, right? So I was
right.
home. I was home every afternoon with my kids. I picked them up from school and then I was there. So it's like, my struggle was like, oh my God, suddenly I had to juggle. It wasn't just like working all day and then picking them up from daycare. It was like I had to juggle 2 little kids, homework, making dinner, doing chores, dealing with conflict, avoiding meltdowns. I mean, you name it. I had to deal with that. So I would say that my greatest parenting struggle was really getting my kids to cooperate without like screaming and losing my sanity. And just figuring out, otherwise my life was going to be hell, and it wasn't going to be benefiting. The stress doesn't benefit them either. And as I said, I'm a stressed out personality. That's just me. So it's basically, I overcame these parenting struggles by channeling my parents and this playful parenting, and just coming up with the games. And while it sounds counterintuitive, it's like, while you're ready to scream, it's like, really, you're going to be playful now? How can you expect me to be playful when I'm ready to burst into tears? And
yeah, so the last thing you feel like is playing. Yeah, for sure.
Exactly. It's just like, hurry up, just clean it up. I say so. But you quickly learn that doesn't work. So it's just, figuring out what is, taking the time to just think, like I said before, just taking a breath and figuring out, like, what do my kids like to do? How can I make this fun? And then having a great attitude about it. And sometimes, maybe it doesn't work. And so that's where you turn to them and go, I really don't feel like cleaning up from dinner either. So what can we do to make this fun?
Exactly. And that's kind of a cool concept too, the idea of, making it clear to them that I'm not asking you to do something that I think is fun. Like, I think it's difficult too. We all have things that we think are difficult, but they still need to be done. Which is something that I think a lot of kids don't quite get, is that, none of us, I shouldn't say none. I do have some very strange friends who love cleaning, but most of us don't like cleaning. And so it 100% makes sense that, it's kind of a way to bond, I think, emotionally, and stop me if I'm wrong, but it's kind of a way to let your kids know, hey, I'm human too. Like, I totally get what you're saying, but we do need to clean up after dinner. These things do need to be fixed or handled in, a way that's not going to make a huge deal for all of us. So let's just try to make this less painful if we can.
Exactly. And, you're empowering your kids. You're not only teaching them responsibility, but you're teaching them how to turn a negative situation into something positive. And, my kids are in their mid-20s now. So I see that this really works, because they've incorporated this into their life, and they'll even do things with me now that it's, kind of funny. Like, for example, when I wrote my book and I started learning self-publishing, I am very passionate, so I jumped right in, and I was literally working round the clock on this, and I'm usually like the fun parent going out and doing things, and I didn't. I just worked all the time. So I remember one time my daughter called me and I was like, yeah, I've been in the same clothes for 36 hours. I've been working so hard. And she's like, Mom, that's nothing to brag about, So my kids got together, on the phone, because they live separately, and they said, we need to do something. So they elected my daughter to call me, and she goes, Mom, we're really worried about you. We have a fun intervention going on. So every day you have to do one thing that's fun. And we're going to call you. And my future daughter-in-law was part of this too. And we're going to call you, and you have to tell us what you did that was fun today. So, that's just an example where it was full circle, and it was so sweet, and it was so helpful, because it kind of like slapped me silly, like, come on, yeah, you're passionate about this, but you got to live too, and you have to shower, But it just shows, and I could see it with other things too, where, it's like, one time they all came home from college, and I was making a good meal, and the dish broke, and I also had experiencing vertigo at the time, so it wasn't fun, but I was hysterically crying, right? Because here I want everything to go well, and there's glass everywhere. And so the two women just picked up and started cleaning, and then my son, very calm, he came over to me on the couch and he goes, Mom, on a scale of 1 to 100, how upsetting is this really? And I just started laughing, because, it's like what I've done with them when they're upset about, school paper or, whatever. So it's just, it just is a way of incorporating it into your life. And I still use these techniques with me when I have to do dishes. I make a game of it. I either turn on the radio and, ask Alexa to play a song and see how fast I can do it, or I time myself, or, whatever it is. It's just like
Right.
it's become a way of life for all of us.
No, and that's really cool that they have picked up on that from you, and that they've actually started to incorporate it themselves. And it seems like it really worked for you and them in such a way that it even helped you guys keep track of your emotions and keep track of, how your emotions jive with reality. So that's so cool that it worked that well for you guys. I'm really impressed with that.
And I just also want to add that I know people are busy, and the last thing you want to do is pick up a book and read. And that's why and you alluded to this in the beginning, that's why my book is very, very different than most parenting books or self-help books out there. I know parents are busy, so I wrote it with very, very short chapters that only take like 5 minutes to read, maybe 10 minutes max. And life is already
They're very short.
And they're really, really short, and they're also really entertaining besides being easy to read. So life is already very serious, and I wanted to make this really fun and lighthearted. So the how-to messages are actually told through lighthearted stories. And the whole idea is that they entertain as well as spark your own playfulness. And it's sort of like chicken soup for the soul. So you're reading, you can look at it and flip through it really easily and go, oh my God, everything is overwhelming. That section, yes, this relates to me. Let's read this story. And then after you're done reading it, like 5 minutes later, you go, oh, I can make a racing game. It's not telling you this is how you do it. It's telling you a very real story with a down-to-earth tone that's like, oh my gosh, this is totally relatable. So you see how the mom does it with her 2 kids, and then it inspires you to do it. And that's exactly what's happened is readers have contacted me and thanked me and said, oh, this is how I did it based on what I read. And so that's the whole idea of my book, is to give people some lighthearted fun in their life and show them through these stories, how to be playful, and to just spark their own creativity and encourage out of the box thinking to ease these frustrating moments that we all encounter.
Now, I've seen my kids clean. And I put that last word in air quotes because generally instead of cleaning, they play. They're 4 and 6 years old, well, almost 6 years old, and so they start out cleaning until they're certain we're not watching, and then they start pretending to be aliens or monsters or whatever the hell the creature du jour is. And this can go on for hours. Me yelling for them to clean, them running around and trying to look busy, then falling back into playtime, and then me yelling again, and then me remembering I actually don't care because they've been leaving me alone for the last few hours, then me remembering that I need them to finish cleaning so that I can do whatever it was I had planned in the first place, and then repeat. And in thinking about this, I realized that Karen is 100% right. Kids, especially small children, respond well to fun. And when you think about it, who doesn't? I realized too, in this moment, that when we're stressed and uber focused on getting things done, we lose one of our most important tools in our parenting toolkit, according to Karen. After all, how do we get through anything without a sense of humor?
Humor and really playfulness and not taking things so seriously. And, kids love to play. So when we're playful, we're speaking their language. And even big kids, like you said, this is for kids who are older too. And so my book, Parenting, Let's Make a Game of It, is really for, toddlers through school age kids. So it's even helping kids, learn how to write better, by making a game of it. So people are probably wondering, what is that? And so it's basically, teaching them when you want to write something and you're stuck, then take yourself out of the situation and pretend you're talking on the phone to someone or interview. So in the chapter, the girl helps the younger boys learning to write interview. So we get out a microphone and interview him. And then he sees, wow, this is really easy. or like organizing all the schoolwork that comes home in that dreaded Friday folder or whatever, where they dump it on the table and, there's like so much paperwork.
Exactly. Yep.
Yeah. And it's like, okay, well, how can we organize this? And sometimes it's just looking around the room going, oh my God, I need something to spark my imagination. It's like clothespins. Okay, let's organize with clothespins. So let's have everybody mark their clothespins with like, read, recycle, throw out, sign, and then teach the kids how to organize with, it's like a game, right? So they take their clothespin that has what they want me to do with it and they organize. So teaching the kids organizational skills and then clipping it with the paper clip. So instead of being so overwhelmed by all that schoolwork, what you're doing is you're teaching your kids how to organize, you're teaching them how to prioritize, you're making life a lot easier for you. And most importantly, the stuff that they want to share, then you can sit down on the couch together and go, oh, so from this huge pile, these are the things that are the most important to you. Let's go through this together. So it's just a better use of your time.
Right.
And it's just, it's doing that with everything, even like things flying. Like my daughter, she did not like flying. My son, while he was excited for every turbulent bump, my daughter would, she'd be turning green. So it's just, even to this day, the two of us, okay, and she's 26, we think about this in our head, and I don't really like flying either, but I do fly. And so it's just, pretending you're flying the plane and you're holding a steering wheel. So it's just regaining control of the situation. Or what finally worked in that story was dancing, dancing with the plane and just listening to music. And, I could go on and on and on about all the different ways, whether it's, psychological, like dealing with stress, or dealing with something like having a spider fear and coming up with a way to get over that, or just things they don't want to clean up, they getting out in the morning, whatever it is.
And finally, Karen suggests some very important wisdom for parents who may be struggling to figure out this whole parenting thing now or in the future.
I would say that when things aren't working, just realize, first of all, that parenting is really challenging, and that's right. That's how it is. And it's wonderful, but it is challenging. So when things aren't working, when there are those power struggles, don't focus on the nagging and the yelling and all the negativity, but instead be optimistic with that can-do attitude and focus on a more playful approach. And while it seems so counterintuitive, it's really a lot more effective because, as I said, kids do like to play. And it's also better for the parents, too, to be in that mind space. And what happens is that it does make parenting a lot easier and more fun because the kids will willingly help. If you make cleaning up a racing game, they're going to have a lot more fun doing it than screaming, get it done. And it makes parenting easier and more fun. It empowers your children, and it also connects the family. And it's really, it's like Mary Poppins. Mary Poppins said, in every job that must be done, there is an element of fun. You find the fun and snap. The job's a game. And that's exactly what this is.
I'll let Karen tell you where to find her, as there are some special things you might want to take advantage of.
They can go to my website, which is parentingletsmakeagameofit.com. So parentingletsmakeagameofit.com. And on my website, I have a sign-up sheet that is how to make parenting easier and more fun in less than a minute. So it gives 10 ways, and it's a printable that people can hang up to or carry with them as a quick reminder of how you can get into this playful mindset very, very easily. You can find me on Twitter my handle is Karen T. Safran, Safran, and also on Facebook at author Karen Thurm Safran. And the best place is my website, which is parentingletsmakeagameofit.com.
And by the way, in honor of Mother's Day, Karen has some special deals going on for those interested in her book. And you can find out more about those by visiting her website, which is, of course, in the show notes. The Nyam Project podcast is written and produced by me, Ariana Bradford. You can find out more about us at wearenyam.com or on any social media under the Nyam Project. Thank you to Karen for giving us some of her time today. An early Happy Mother's Day to all of you amazing, badass mamas out there, and we'll see you next time.